Welcome to Recaply X, your movie recap in a flash. We bring the drama, the action, and the twists. In minutes, our movie begins in the year 4032, and we know that most of the humans have turned new creatures called apis. All of this was expected by a great scientist named David, who saw that there was a mutation of unknown origin that would occur in the human DNA and would be late for him. He decided to build a secluded place called Pines, where the last humans who haven't transformed yet live. They protect themselves in this city and try as much as they can to preserve the human race from extinction. We understand that they were placed in freezing conditions for 2,000 years, and when they returned to life, they were shocked by how the world had changed. They felt that the world was no longer livable and discovered the monsters surrounding them. We meet Dr. Yedlin, who is spending his vacation by the sea. He meets a strange man sitting next to him and talks to him. After some time, he wakes up to find himself in a house inside this city. He tries to escape in any way he can, takes a car, and drives to a place where he looks for the police to ask for help. Looking around, he feels that everyone he encounters is not normal and starts to doubt everything. The police eventually find him, but strangely, they take him back to the same place he tried to escape from. They take Billy to the hospital and explain to him that an experiment is being conducted on humans, organized by the government. They ask for his cooperation, pressuring him to save a patient with them. He eventually agrees and asks them to prepare the operating room quickly. We learn that the patient is a young woman named Kate, and her condition is very critical. At that moment, Carrie arrives and informs Jason of losses in the first generation. Jason looks at a picture of someone named Ben and says that as long as he's free, the entire city will be in danger. Megan confirms his words, agreeing with him, and reminds him of the strict laws and rules they must always follow, explaining the penalties as well. Yedlin checks on Kate after the operation and tries to understand what exactly happened to her. Carrie interrupts their conversation, asking him to step outside for a while. During this time, he sees soldiers forcibly separating a woman from her child. He tries to intervene, but they block his way, forcing him to continue on his path without understanding what is happening. He keeps thinking about what happened to the woman after he left. The woman is then taken to a large facility filled with people, where she and others are accused of rebellion and sentenced to punishment. Jed speaks to the people with a very stern tone, telling them that adhering to the laws is the only way to save the remainder of their lives. He orders the soldiers to kill the woman mercilessly. Megan visits Kate and proposes they team up after she recovers and work together for the future of Pines. Kate gets into a fight with Megan, attacking her with a scalpel, declaring that she would never participate in something like this and commits suicide in front of her. Yedlin, along with Mario and other prisoners, heads to a location and opens a secret passage to enter. He leaves the car in a monster-infested area. These creatures spot them and prepare to attack. Yedlin runs, trying to escape and save himself. Meanwhile, the first generation watches a motivational video left for them by Dr. David. The officials monitor everything happening outside through cameras and are shocked to see the monsters trying to eat a human like them. Jed realizes something is wrong and sends his men out to see exactly what is happening outside. The prisoners attempt to escape, including a young man named Ben. Soldiers approach the cars, trying to fend off all the monsters. Unfortunately, some prisoners die, and the monsters manage to overpower them. Carrie is also injured, and Abby takes her, running to save her. Jason is forced to help them and takes her to the hospital, regretting that he let them go out and put their lives in danger. Of course, he finds no doctor capable of performing the complicated surgery to save her. He orders his men to bring Yedlin as quickly as possible. They search for him everywhere but find no trace of him. Eventually, they bring him to the hospital, but this time he refuses to perform the surgery. He tells Jason he won't help unless he understands exactly what is happening. Jason is forced to strike a deal with him, promising to help him find his wife. He assures him that there are no other humans on the planet outside this city and that they have taken over the entire planet. Yedlin treats Carrie and she regains consciousness. A new problem arises in the city. Supplies are running low. Jason asks Jack to start the harvesting phases, which of course takes place outside the city and is very dangerous. Yedlin is forced to adapt to the new situation, realizing he is the only doctor in the area and must help them. He throws away David's picture because he doesn't want to keep it in his office. Megan meets with her students, using Kate's corpse to explain human weaknesses. One of the students mentions knowing about an attempted breach that was kept secret from them. Megan assures him that the situation is under control and that they shouldn't worry at all. She calls the doctor to examine all of them and ensure their health. Yedlin realizes the severe danger they face due to the food shortage. Jason asks him to focus on his work and not worry about everything else. Jay assembles a large team and prepares for the harvest season. He suggests using fire to create a barrier between them and the monsters. They venture outside the city to save people from hunger and solve the problem. Jay's plan succeeds, and the monsters gather around them, trying to attack, but the fire scares them off a bit. The soldiers collect a good amount of food. One of them refuses to help his friend to avoid being punished since his friend is one of the rebels. The cars leave, but Ben fails to enter the gates with them. He stands in front of the camera, begging Jason to let him in. We learn that Ben is actually looking for his mother, Teresa. He believes that everything they have reached is due to Jason's actions and selfishness, blaming him for his wrong thinking in everything. Megan tries to convince one of the soldiers to go out and help him, but unfortunately, none of them agree to risk their lives. Ben is forced to hide somewhere away from the monsters until he figures out what to do. Unfortunately, the monsters eventually attack and kill him. Jason watches the cameras, pleased that he managed to protect the city and that the monsters have left the area. Naturally, his thinking turns out to be wrong, as the monsters are hiding very close to them. A group of soldiers goes out again to ensure everything is safe and that there are no monsters in the area. Jason is delighted, believing that Abby has also left and won't return. Carrie tells him that this is a big problem because the people will ask about Abby's absence and hold Jason responsible for anything that happens to him. After a while, Jason hears a noise in his house. He grabs his weapon and goes to search the house, shocked to find Pam sitting in the living room. She reminds him of all the things she taught him long ago, and she confesses that she killed her brother because he tried to stand in her way and in the way of the city's future. She asks Jason to let her stay with him and help him manage the city. He agrees to do so and takes her with him to the square to announce it to everyone. After that, she secretly tries to enter the lab. We find out that they are keeping some of the monsters there. Megan arrives shortly after, forcing her to abandon her plan and return home. She plans to use the medicine she stole from the lab. Adeline arrives and talks to her, and Megan finds out that some medicine was stolen, leaving her shocked at who could have done it. It turns out that it's not medicine at all. Adeline talks to her again, and Megan learns about the stolen medicine, shocked at who could have managed it. It's revealed that it's not medicine but rather something else. The person who consumed it, Pam, is a young girl suffering from the disease that affects humans. Pam arrives at the meeting and greets Jason in a strange way. Adeline enters and asks everyone to leave the room without touching one another or anything around them. He reveals all of Pam's plans, and Pam remains silent, not even denying or defending herself. She admits that she came to destroy the monsters and asks Jason to stand by her. Jason refuses to forgive her this time and orders the soldiers to arrest her. Later that night, he takes her outside and demands she tell him exactly what's going to happen. Suddenly, he kills her in cold blood. The next day, a young man wakes up to find himself thrown into a deep well. A monster tries to attack him, but he manages to defeat it and save himself, climbing to the surface. Jason holds a meeting to discuss the city's problems. Jay suggests increasing the crops because the population is growing. Megan believes it's not the right time for this and argues they should focus on more important matters. Jason agrees with Jay, saying it's a significant issue, and orders them to search for new fields. At the same time, someone approaches the young man, attacks him, and silences him, pressuring him to reveal who sent him. He learns that Jason is now the one ruling the city. The savage man reveals he has been in that place for many years, living alone. He's one of the team members David sent long ago to search for any surviving humans. Soldiers notice someone approaching the gate and send someone to confirm the identity of the person coming toward them. They are relieved when they find the young man is one of them and allow him to enter. They take the savage man to the doctor to check on him. Adlin learns from him that there are indeed people outside the city. The savage man reveals that the monsters are not the real danger, but Jason and his allies are the ones who ruined the city. Adlin reads about a monster named Adam Hassler. Jason arrives and asks about the patient's condition, pressuring Adlin to reveal everything they discussed. Adlin refuses to disclose anything, considering it classified information, and suggests Jason speak to the man himself. The savage man struggles to sleep, constantly thinking about everything he has been through and the difficult life he has endured. He decides to leave because he can't bear it anymore, terrified by the idea that the monsters might come and take him at any moment. He escapes to the streets, where people fear him and his strange appearance. He becomes extremely anxious and tries to hide in a corner, sitting alone. Teresa finds him and introduces herself, trying to find out if he has seen Benny anywhere. The savage man hesitates to tell her that Benny is dead. Adlin tells his wife about what happened to him that day. Rebecca believes he should inform the authorities so he doesn't bear the responsibility alone. Jay sends out a new group to search for land to grow crops. Teresa stops him midway and asks to join him so she can search for Benny. The savage man goes with them because he can't live in the city and adapt to it. Jay is moved by the natural scenery around him, deeply affected because he hasn't seen such sights in a long time. He orders his men to rest in that place until morning. The savage man leaves without telling anyone. When he returns, he finds chaos and sees people gathered around a body on the ground. Teresa realizes without even seeing the body that it's Benny and starts crying over him. Rebecca arrives home with a little girl and asks Adlin to let her live with them since she's alone and has no one to care for her. Adlin agrees because he feels sorry for the girl. This angers Frank, the girl's brother, who believes she will be punished for breaking the rules. He escapes from the academy and goes out to a place only to be shocked when he sees a monster before his eyes. He prepares to kill it. Jason watches everything through the cameras and orders his men to surround the area and ensure no one witnesses what's happening. Gabby is surprised because she feels the monster looks different from the others. Sensing something is wrong, they try to keep what happened a secret. Megan studies the new creature they captured, trying to understand the differences between it and the others. She notices it is much calmer than the other monsters and behaves intelligently. They find strange marks on its palm. Megan takes a sample and decides to analyze it to learn more about the monsters and how to control them. The soldiers confirm that there are no other creatures around or any threats to the city. None of them understand how the monster managed to enter the city so easily. Jason speculates that the monster might have come for a specific purpose, given its intelligence and uniqueness. He decides to talk to Rebecca, hoping she can help. At the same time, Carrie talks to Adlin and asks if he has any hidden information. Adlin convinces her to give him their research to review. She agrees, despite knowing the consequences of her actions. Megan argues with Adlin, constantly disagreeing with him and trying to find faults in him. She refuses to listen to him and conducts all the experiments she wants on the monster. The monsters gather and set fire to all the new fields, destroying the crops. The monster in the lab senses everything happening outside. We see that years ago, they lived freely in the forest, away from humans. Suddenly, a plane appeared over the forest and killed most of the monsters for no apparent reason, leaving only a few survivors. At that moment, they decided to take revenge on humans for what was done to them. The sirens suddenly go off all over the town, terrifying the people. They flee as the monsters continue their revenge, attempting to destroy any source of food for humans. Savage notices what's happening and warns the soldiers to escape quickly. Unfortunately, the creatures invade the entire camp, attacking and killing some of them. Megan remains in the lab and suddenly senses something is wrong when the animals make strange noises. Realizing she's in danger, Jedlin becomes aware of the chaos and tries to help in any way he can. Carrie arrives just in time, takes him to the hospital, and tells him to prepare because the night will be difficult. Jason deploys a massive army, including civilians, to protect the city, attempting to extinguish fires in the fields. Jedlin reaches the hospital and orders all assistants to be ready for emergencies. The situation worsens as a massive battle erupts in the streets between humans and monsters. Strangely, the monsters prove to be much smarter, taking complete control of the situation. They eliminate all the soldiers in the fields, leaving the rest gravely injured. The hospital descends into chaos due to the overwhelming number of patients. People scream in pain and horror, and Jedlin struggles to manage the dire situation, helping anyone who comes in injured. Some succumb to their critical conditions, leaving nothing to be done for them. Jay recounts exactly what happened, explaining that the monsters have become far more ferocious than before. Carrie and Megan are in disbelief that all the farms have burned and there's no food source left. They can't fathom the monsters' intelligence and their calculated plan to wipe out humanity. Jason stands with them, expressing his deep concern about what will happen next, believing that humanity's fate is entirely uncertain. Jay confirms that within 6 weeks at most, there will be no food sources left, leading to a massive famine. The bigger disaster is the shortage of medicine, meaning people will either die of starvation or illness. Jedlin curses David, blaming him for the chaos, calling the city his biggest mistake. News reaches Jason that about 100 monsters have gathered near the city gates. Despite everything, Jason insists that the monsters aren't thinking creatures as everyone believes, and that everything happening is just a coincidence. Meanwhile, Tress rests in the hospital, tormented by thoughts of her father. Megan decides to scan the monster she has, shocked to discover that the part of its brain responsible for thinking and intelligence is twice the size of a regular human's. They hear the monster's sounds everywhere and see on the cameras that millions of them have gathered around the gate. The caged monsters hear their comrades and call out to them in eerie, frightening voices for rescue. The only one who remains calm is the monster everyone finds peculiar. Jedlin is furious when he learns what Megan has done with this monster, accusing her of acting behind his back. She tells him to leave her alone and stay out of her work, asserting that she's in charge, not him. Jedlin sees this as the only way to understand the monster's nature and regain control. He shows her some cards and explains their meanings, introducing a man who has awoken from a century-long cryo-sleep. The man ventures into the outside world, becoming disoriented and living chaotically, suffering from strange illnesses. Jay meets him, persuades him to join their group and leave his harsh life behind. When the man refuses, Jay is forced to kill him to eliminate any potential threat. Jedlin realizes that the transformed man isn't just another monster, but their leader. He tries to protect as many people as possible. Savage intervenes, arguing with them to leave this monster alone, claiming that the external chaos is because of him. He insists the monsters will do anything to reach their leader. A heated debate ensues, with Megan believing Savage is exaggerating and that the situation isn't as dire as he claims. Jay recalls the day people were awakened from cryo-sleep, when David thought the danger was over and humanity was safe. But as they ventured into the forest, they discovered these creatures were still alive. David refused to put them back into cryo-sleep, deciding instead to build this city for all humans to live in, even electrifying the gates to keep anyone from crossing. In the present, Jedlin tries to communicate with the transformed leader. Jason intervenes, rejecting any solutions and believing the remaining humans can easily defeat the monster. Jedlin warns them that all of humanity is in danger, explaining to Jason that the transformed being is not ordinary. When Jedlin speaks with the leader, the latter declares that Jason is a leader just like him, but refuses to speak with him, demanding that Jedlin be the leader instead. Jason becomes enraged upon hearing this, attempting to stop what's happening. The monster also stands firm in its position. Jedlin tries opening the cage and entering, angering the monster further, which attempts to attack him, gripping his arm with immense strength. Everyone watching is terrified. The transformed monster gives a clear signal, as if commanding others to act. Jason decides to kill them all out of fear, but Carrie opposes his actions, trying to stop him and urging him to act more wisely. She takes him away, leaving others to continue their work. Megan notices a strange substance under her feet, feeling weak and dizzy. She's shocked to see the creature standing before her, having escaped the cage with ease. The city's residents are reassured that there's no danger to their lives and relax for a moment. Jedlin returns to the lab, sensing something strange, only to find Megan's lifeless body on the floor. He realizes the transformed leader has escaped and everything is spiraling out of control. At the same time, the transformed leader reaches the exit. Jason arrives at the Iona scene, ordering his men to search the entire area, inspecting every corridor and underground passage, but finding no trace. The leader makes it to the forest, aiming to reunite with its tribe and continue its journey unharmed. Jedlin believes they must warn the city's residents, asserting that the leader will undoubtedly bring its group and infiltrate unnoticed, endangering everyone's lives. Jason insists on executing his plan, stating he'll send some civilians to fight the monsters in the forest. They lock all the children in the city school for protection. People rush to their homes, locking themselves inside. The transformed leader encounters Frank and Lucy walking nearby, sensing their affection for each other, and decides not to harm them. It then reaches the gate, attacking the guard, and the children hear the man's screams, and they get very scared and try to escape. All the city's residents hear the same sound and get even more frightened. The monster takes the corpse with him and leaves. The soldiers see him walking on the rooftops. They shoot at him, but he escapes easily. The soldiers ask anyone with weapons to join them to increase their numbers. A group of civilians gathers, collects their weapons, and decides to join the soldiers. Savage and Dr. Yadlin go into the forest and find the man's corpse lying on the ground. They realize it's a trap set by the monster to distract them from its main mission and lead them away. The mutant roams freely in the city, spreading terror among the people, and no one can stop it. One person gets injured, and Yadlin tries to intervene, asking everyone to calm down so he can help. The guards see the situation worsening as the number of monsters increases, and they come closer. Jason takes Carrie to a shelter he specifically built for them. He admits that this shelter will allow only them to protect themselves from everything happening, to stay alive, and that he has prepared everything if they want to stay there. Carrie confesses that she cannot have children, and that there's no point in her existence since she can't help repopulate the world with him. She believes her capsule would be wasted. Rebecca reaches the monster's location, and just before it attacks her, the same young man from the forest saves her. He also protects his fiancée and the child she carries, taking them to a safe place and planning to lead the monster to an underground tunnel it can easily enter. Indeed, the monster reaches the forest, searching for the tunnel entrance. Savage appears before it and tries to kill it. When he sees the monster genuinely afraid of him, he feels pity and lets it escape quickly. He then changes his mind, deciding he must eliminate the monster, and follows it into the tunnel. Jason and his team arrive and instruct their men to blow up the entire passage, hoping to eliminate all the monsters. Savage exits through the tunnel's other end and sees Jason and his men. He walks among them without anyone harming him. The monster reaches its companions, who find it injured and feel deep sorrow for it. They grow angrier at humans. Carrie witnesses this scene and feels deeply moved. Jason tells her that all the monsters must die, that they don't deserve to live at all. Yadlin seeks the young man's help, suggesting they cooperate. He talks to Jason, updating him on the latest developments. The monster leader is near death, struggling to survive, and its companions do everything they can to save its life, but nothing works. Jason addresses the people, explaining the situation and giving them instructions to protect themselves. He emphasizes the urgency of evacuating the city as quickly as possible. Jay takes over, trying to calm the situation, reassuring everyone that everything will be fine if they follow the instructions. He goes to the control center to assess the situation, realizing the threat is significant. He informs Jason, who insists they must load the capsules as quickly as possible. Jason states that there's no time left, and decisions must be made about who will live and who will die. He asks Yadlin to review the resident files to identify those with health issues. Yadlin dislikes the idea, suggesting a lottery instead. Jason insists that anyone who stays must be capable of reproduction to ensure the survival of the human race and repopulate the Earth. Yadlin shares Jason's idea with Carrie, telling her that Jason has given up on her since she can't have children. He incites her to take revenge on Jason. We learn that Jason is David's adopted son, and from the moment David saw him, he believed Jason would be his successor. A major fight breaks out between Jason and Carrie, escalating into a battle that ends with them killing each other. The monster leader recovers and strategizes with its companions. Jason arrives at the hospital in critical condition, forcing Yadlin to treat him. The monsters and soldiers prepare to destroy the city and wipe out humanity. The residents prepare for cryogenic sleep, leaving behind the sick and those with health issues. Yadlin announces Jason's death to everyone, reassuring them that the plan will proceed as intended. He collaborates with Jay to finalize preparations since time is running out. Women and children are prioritized for the cryogenic chambers. Anyone not registered is told to stay in their homes. Families are separated, creating a dire situation. The children are terrified by the unfolding events, realizing they are all in danger. The young man discovers his name isn't on the list, a punishment for his earlier refusal to help. The monsters approach the gate, preparing for an attack, following their leader's orders. Yadlin records a final message for future generations, urging them never to repeat David's experiments, which led to humanity's downfall. He declares his decision to inject himself with 3 different serums, transforming into one of the monsters to fight them and protect the remaining humans. People without capsules storm the facility, pressuring the guards to let them in. Frank and the young man sit aside, resigned to their fate. Yadlin arrives to take them, but they're confronted by 2 angry individuals trying to kill them. The young man calms them down, allowing Yadlin to reach the lab and prepare for the injection. Suddenly, Carrie appears, revealing she's still alive. She insists on taking on the mission herself, saying she doesn't want to live after Jason's death and has already injected herself. Vowing to complete the mission and save humanity, she advises Yadlin to escape and protect himself before it's too late. He gives her an anesthetic injection to prevent her from feeling pain during the transformation. Yadlin addresses everyone before they enter deep sleep, reassuring them that the future will be better. Unfortunately, Jay's capsule malfunctions, leaving him standing in place. Suddenly, he sees his wife, who died many years ago, and is shocked by the vision. His capsule is repaired at the last moment, allowing him to save himself. The city's gates open, and all the monsters flood in. And here, our story ends. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the notification bell for updates.